So I'm talking today about why emotional abuse is the key understanding in society. A lot of people aren't aware of it, and a lot of things have come out of it in terms of my work, in terms of understanding the tort for the intentional infliction of emotional distress, in terms of gentle genius coaching itself as equal and opposite reactions to emotional abuse, emotional distress. And I want to talk today a bit about why understanding emotional abuse is so vital for society. There really is an invisible nature to emotional distress, emotional abuse, and a lot of society is not aware of it. And what I call is this underlying psychology in society that is affecting so much of what we do, even into our systems, and people are not aware of how it's doing it and what's going on. And so what I'm calling for and what I'm developing is a fundamentally different, improved psychology in society. Because what emotional abuse is about, and because it's able to operate in unseen, invisible ways, it's about people who have a false sense of superiority, who feel like they can, I don't want to say own, but bully and abuse other people to kind of meet their weakened psychological, emotional needs. And so much, of society is set up as this is an unseen thing. I mean, there are people who have surely encountered what they would call narcissistic abuse, even, running into some psychopathic behavior. And what's not understood, the worst forms of human behavior have come about because people felt they were falsely superior to other people or to another group. Think of slavery in the United States of America or Nazi Germany, people who actually went to exterminate or control races and groups and religions of people. So the worst things, and unfortunately we still have many remnants of that now. People, and this is an oddity because really emotional abusers are people who are not emotionally developed. Right? They're people who have an impaired sense of emotional, growth, and really keeping, what I've seen is having contained childhood emotions blown up into adult actions. It's almost like people who are thematically trapped in their childhood. So, and I see the ripple effects of not understanding emotional abuse is really rippling out vastly in society. Because at its core, and this is where I took it on, and for those who've ever encountered, an intense divorce situation, which with me went back 30 years or so, that there's unfairness in our culture, and there's unfairness in our systems, and I say it with love for our cherished American legal system, because if we don't have fairness at our core in terms of legality, then everything else breaks down. And for those who've experienced emotional abuse, emotional distress, it's confounding, because what an emotional abuser does is really turn the tables upside down with like 3 degrees of a violation. I mean, taking like a small event and blowing it up, then, feeling like they have some need for revenge as a second stage, and then in the third stage, really feeling like, they have a right to keep that person down for a duration of periods of time. And then posing to authorities like, look, if they're the ones acting foolishly, I'm like, indifferent, I'm above it. And I've done some nice, I've had some nice illustrations done for me and this kind of thing along these lines. And as you know, I go out and I walk the walk and spread the word on these issues, take a brief interlude to look at that. Summertime is coming to a close. You got some literature spreading the gentle genius psychology, the magical psychology the world needs, walking the walk, training, coaching, look at that. So what I'm getting at is that it's really a mentality, it's a psychology of those who are impaired psychologically, who then, because they're willing to cutthroat and really be, harmful in how they interact with systems and people, they will climb ladders to get ahead of other people. And unfortunately, they're influencing our systems. So to me, more than Democrat, Republican, racial division, it's like, who are the people who want to step up and really have fairness at their core? It's what we need, and humanity at our core. And that's what I have a 29-year journey, which has melded and elevated and molded, that sense of humanity and fairness at our core. As I say, I've developed legal responses to emotional abuse, and I believe like this tort for the intentional infliction of emotional distress is one of the valuable items that society has to learn about. Because a lot of actions as we go forward are not going to be physical harm as much as they're going to be psychological and emotional harm. So I have developed, a legal brief and presentation to courts in Massachusetts. And we know with love, that the courts in Massachusetts have to realign more towards fairness. And, the Karen Reed situation brought that out and other situations. But, we've got to realign and, Concord and Lexington, this is where the American Revolution began in terms of liberty and fairness. We have to, anchor those into our mindset and our commonality. And this is what I work to do. And finally, I'll touch upon our Gentle Genius coaching, because it really is for these companies, families, and individuals who want to act, who want to learn this new psychology, who develop the trust that, and I invite you into it, that your goodness, your courage, your purpose is stronger, as I say, stronger than 1,000 fakes, the real you. And this is what we have to understand, that the real us is what we need, people who go back to the good ideals. Yes, society has to make a lot of adjustments in terms of expansion to gay and lesbian, transgender, races, all kinds of people. And yet we must keep the core of fundamental equality, liberty, and justice for all. And so our training, coaching, and mediations helps companies, families, and individuals really forge these cores about them and go out into the world, not in a fearful way, but in an appropriately assertive way, to become societal champions and make your mark in a good way. And in that way, we have a unique understanding of today's psychology and really can help and train people, coach people, Gentle Genius coaching, prepare people in that way. So take a look at the website and remember that any unfairness is not right, and understanding emotional abuse is a pushing off point for society to get to a better place.